I think the funny thing is with Kirby, I feel like his MO is like when you're up big, like when you get up, right? With like once you feel comfortable, I feel like the offense goes kind of conservative, but then it's like leave the starters in on defense. We're not giving up any points. Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview Georgia's season opener against Oregon in the Chick-fil-A kickoff at Mercedes Benz Stadium in Atlanta. We talk about what we learned from Kirby's press conference, all three phases of the game, and we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygodapodcast.com to see our latest merch, and you can follow us on social media at MyGodAPodcast. Finally, we'd love for all of you to come join us at Dog Central. That's DAWGS Central.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. What are we drinking tonight?
Tonight we are drinking Rare Breed. Wild Turkey Rare Breed, because, Jim, we are a rare breed. We are national champions.
I like that. I thought about mine, and I actually kind of teeter-tottered on a couple. I ended up with the Old Elk Wheated bourbon. So my thought there was twofold. One is it's the furthest west bourbon that I have.
The furthest west, okay.
So playing a Pac-12 team. Figured that would that's the closest I could get out there. And then two, with Oregon being the alternate uniform kings of college football, I felt like that matched up well with the fact that this is Hunter's favorite bourbon, or one of his favorite bourbons. I don't know if this is his exact favorite, but this was a Hunter recommendation to me, the Old Elk Wheated. So
there we go. I like it. I like the analysis there. The Bizarro Coast.
Right.
It's from the Bizarro Coast.
So, okay, before we jump in, I did want to quickly, we had talked about you were taking a big birthday trip with Carter to St. Louis.
Yes.
And I know you put a very nice Twitter thread out there that was pretty awesome, but I don't know. You got any bullet points? It seems like you guys enjoyed St. Louis.
We did enjoy it. The Carter enjoyed the plane ride. I leveraged some Sky Miles to get him a first class upgrade on a flight back.
Nice.
And we had Comfort Plus on the way out, so he literally rode in style, and we'll probably never experience it again. But I kid. We usually have a pretty decent amount of points. So, it was fun. St. Louis is a great little town. If you haven't seen the thread I mentioned, maybe we can link it from the podcast. But I have nothing but great things to say about the people of St. Louis and the city of St. Louis. That was a really cool experience. I mean, outside of the one in the thread I mentioned, Carter had a ball thrown to him by a Braves player. We went to see the Braves play the Cardinals this past weekend. So, but he had a ball thrown to him by a Braves player, and a Cardinals fan who was an older boy had been standing next to Carter the whole time. And when the ball was just about to hit his glove, the kid reached over and intercepted it. Basically, it was a total interceptado. It was, and Carter reacted in very much the same way as Bama Bros did when Ringo intercepted the Young's pass. So he was pretty upset, and I kid you not, Jim. Like, I was so pissed. The kid took off running, and he knew he had done something wrong.
Right.
All the Cardinals fans were super upset, and so anyway, I thought the trip was over. Like, I was like, man, this is done. He's be able to recover from this. He's never going to recover from this. Right. So all he wanted to do was go to batting practice, and we went to the batting practice. Anyway, people gathered around, and they were super upset about it. All fans, Braves, Cardinals alike, they were upset about what they had seen. And they got the attention of this guy and explained the situation to him down in the bullpen. And they were pointing at a ball that had been sitting there, which he had also tried to get attention previously to get that ball thrown to him because
Mm-hmm.
it was just sitting there.
Right.
But the guy said that he couldn't throw it out there. But a different guy came through and was like, understood the situation, picked up the ball, threw it to Carter, and Carter goes, "Dad, this was a home run ball. It's got a ball mark on it too. You can see it." And so he showed it to me, and he said it was Austin Riley. He's like, he was certain that it was Austin Riley ball.
Amazing. That's awesome.
So, trip restored, and fun times were had. So literally, like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been to baseball games for my whole life. Like, probably been to 50 baseball games in my entire life. Like, never got a ball, never caught a foul ball, never did any of that stuff. And
Yeah, me neither.
Carter has gotten 2 balls in the last couple of months.
Yeah. He got on the Jumbotron too, right?
And he got on the Jumbotron again.
Yeah.
This is like the 3rd time he's been on the Jumbotron. He got on the Jumbotron a couple times at the Braves Stadium in the last couple of years.
That's the only thing I can claim. I've been on the Jumbotron, but I've never caught a ball or anything like that.
Yeah. I'll say thank you, Carter, for not doing what he did the last time he was on the Jumbotron, which was he dumped a bucket of popcorn on his friend. Thankfully, there was no popcorn dropped on Dad's head or the neighbor next to him.
Amazing.
Yeah, man, we got some.
It's like the opposite of sorry, Carter.
Yeah, no. We were walking around. I made this sign for him, thinking that it might help him get a ball, which I guess it kind of did. It just said it's my birthday. Go Braves, basically. And he was walking around with that sign all over town on the Metrolink, their version of MARTA, I guess, which was really cool. Our hotel had a station right outside, and we got dropped off right at the stadium. It was great.
Nice.
But all along the way, even inside the stadium, even like Cardinals employees were stopping and saying happy birthday and yelling from afar. He felt super special. People were giving him baseball cards and stuff from the staff. It was great. A great experience and lots of things to do. So I can't speak enough. I told my wife, I was like, we're going to have to go back there at some point because it was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's awesome. And maybe I missed a moment, but I'm going to come back to it because I said that was the opposite of the sorry, Carter. And I felt obliged to point out that we actually, after last week's episode, as promised, I did put the Sorry Carter t-shirts up there for sale. And I know we've had at least one person order one. So, John, You're not the only person with a Sorry Carter shirt now. So
excellent.
So I thought that was pretty cool. So if anyone else is listening and you want your own Sorry Carter shirt, or we've got a Munson like goat shirt, it's pretty cool. Store.mygodapodcast.com. My only thing on our end is school finally started. So we have now started school. So school started today after a long weekend. We talked about Ella being Alice in Alice in Wonderland. She had 3 more shows this weekend. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. My mother-in-law was in on Friday to come see that. That it was also Kim's birthday. So celebrated that on Friday and then had my entire family. Frip Dog was here with my mom, then my sister, her husband, and kids. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Good job.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. All right. Well, I still can't believe that it's game week.
Over here, man. Yeah, dude. Like I was telling Lindsay, like, we've got a lot of we didn't have anything on the books, but then we got some stuff scheduled this weekend, so I'm probably not gonna be able to go to the game. But yeah, like I was telling Lindsay, I was like, yeah, I feel like we've been running a million miles an hour with kids' sports and school, and like shuffling kids in and out of their activities and work, and like suddenly it's here. It's like, oh crap, we gotta record first of all. we got a game in a week. Like, oh my gosh, this is great.
I was like, what do I feel like I had to get back in my rhythm of what am I looking up? Like, what am I writing? What am I kind of, jotting down or whatever? And, I know we already talked about it, but for everyone, Georgia Dogs is kind of letting me down. GeorgiaDogs.com has a bit of a site redesign, and a lot of the stuff I used to look up just for some of the easy matchup information is I can't find it anymore. So gonna have to now. I have 2 questions for Claude Felton. One, where did that information go? And then two, what's up with the pronunciation guides with Scott Howard, because they're still not there. But we will persevere and go through it without that stuff. I feel like this has been like the fastest off season actually. I guess I still go back to the like maybe sometimes they're slower because the season didn't end you wanted it to, and so you're kind of like you're so eagerly waiting to correct everything that it makes it take longer. This off season, I feel like flew by, which is good, I suppose. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, so now we have more than just a flip phone to blame if things go awry this season. You've been put on notice.
I feel like this is something that we probably didn't talk about quite enough. Is the the emergence of Stickwavius, has also coincided with the purchase of an iPhone.
Yeah, seriously.
So we'll see. All right, well, let's run. We can run through some of our usual stuff. Just some quick things like on the matchup with Oregon. So 3:30 p.m. kickoff in Mercedes Benz Stadium in Atlanta. If you can't make it, it's on ABC. The broadcast team is Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, and Molly McGrath. So pretty good broadcast team calling the game. If you are one who likes to listen on the radio, whether at home or at your tailgate, the pregame on Georgia Bulldog Radio Network kicks off at 11:30 a.m. So you can check that out. Something we always talk about if you're on Twitter or any social media, the official hashtag for this game is hashtag CFA kickoff. So you could use that if you want to tweet about the game. And then the weather. So this one is interesting. So high of 82, but we're recording on Monday. As of right now, like there's like a 60% chance of thunderstorms. Last I looked, so weather could be interesting. So plan accordingly with your attire if you're going to the game. I don't know. We never like to have like wet shoes and stuff. So
sounds like we may see a closed roof, which could impact a couple of things that we'll talk about later. But
yeah. So you went there. I was just thinking about tailgates.
Yeah,
but no, also true. At least it won't be like
more important, but I am thinking about some of this stuff. I'll go ahead and spring it because there are several players on Oregon's team that hail from Georgia who have mentioned that the weather is much hotter in Georgia than it is in Oregon.
Yeah.
And they were talking about like had the game been played in Sanford Stadium at 4:00, that they probably would have melted. So with the roof being closed, that takes away an element of the humidity and stuff. Like I expect it to be closed.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. True. So I did mention tailgates. I wanted to call out. So John, sounds like you're not going to be able to make it. You've got things going on for the day. I will be there. As of right now, it looks like it's going to be me, my dad, my sister, and my nephew actually are going to the game, I believe. I'm going to be bouncing around a little bit, but I do plan to be at both the ATD tailgate with our buddy Greg. And there's a whole tailgate crew there. They threw an excellent tailgate to open the season at Clemson, and they kind of kept it going all year, actually. So they've got that tailgate. And then I will also be at the Players Lounge. I don't know like which order I'm going to yet. I'll get that figured out. But if you're a Dog Central subscriber, we did post you can get tickets to go to the Players Lounge tailgate. So be sure to check that out if you're a Dog Central subscriber. And there will be a live broadcast from there with Graham and Josh and John Tweets, I believe. So that's those are the notes I had kind of for the matchup. Had a couple of fun facts just to go over. So, or not all of them are fun though, actually. But but this is Georgia's second appearance in the Chick-fil-A kickoff. The only other one was in 2016, Kirby's first game as head coach when we beat North Carolina. That was a Chick-fil-A kickoff, but that was in the Georgia Dome. And then we were supposed to play in this game in 2020 against Virginia, but that was canceled because of COVID. the thing that I mentioned that's not so fun is our Mercedes Benz record. So Georgia is 2-4 in the Benz. So the 2 wins were over Auburn in the 17 SEC championship game, and then over Cincinnati in the 2020 Peach Bowl. I remember it was New Year's Day 2021, but in the COVID season. And then 4 losses. So hopefully we can get that back up closer to 500. This next one I'm going to pose at least as somewhat a question. Did you know how many times we have played Oregon before?
How many times we have played Oregon before? I don't know. I'm going to go 0.
Okay, we have played them once. We only played them once, and I'll give you give me a decade. What decade do you think the game was? We'll just go with that.
I'm going to go with the 60s.
Close. It's the 70s. So we played them in 1977 in Athens. We did win. It was a Georgia win, 27-16 over Oregon. So this is only the second meeting. Oregon against the SEC, they're 5-8 all time, and this one is fun. So do you know the last SEC team that Auburn played? Wait, I messed that up.
Wait,
Dude, I should leave that in. I can't read. That was amazing.
Are you able to read your notes? I'm going to go and say Auburn.
Yeah. Do you know when? Or forget when. What's the connection? There's an interesting connection here.
An interesting connection between Auburn and Oregon, or
just about Oregon in that game.
Oregon and the game that they played against Auburn?
Yeah.
Was Bo Nix the quarterback?
Yes, exactly. So this is like super weird to me. So in 2019, Oregon led Auburn 21-6, and then Auburn scored 21 unanswered points to win that game. So it was like a Bo Nix led comeback in Mercedes Benz for Auburn over Oregon.
Wow.
He threw a game winning touchdown pass right at the end of the game. So that's awesome. That was his first ever college game, because it was in one of these kickoff games.
And so now he's their quarterback, or presumed quarterback.
Yeah. So he's got his college career here sandwiched in these Chick-fil-A kickoff games. One for Auburn, one for Oregon. It's pretty.
And he's a super senior, right?
He actually is like a straight up just senior. So I guess technically he could play another year, I guess, right? With the COVID year. Because 19, I believe he was a true freshman that year. So yeah, so he's a regular, straight up regular old senior.
Interesting.
Yep. All right. That was all that I had for my fun facts. And I totally butchered my other one. I butchered my last one, but that's okay.
Nice. Let's see. Do I have any fun facts? I have a couple of fun facts.
Okay.
Did you know that their Oregon Stadium, the Autzen Stadium, is named for an alumni of what university?
So it's not Oregon?
That is correct.
I mean, is it Georgia?
No, it's not.
I'm trying to figure out.
Can you imagine if your stadium was named for an alumnus of Georgia Tech?
Is that what it was?
It's Oregon State. Autzen Stadium is named for an Oregon State alumnus. I'm like,
really?
That doesn't even make sense. Also Rich Brooks Field. It's kind of like, they have, Bobby Dodd Stadium at Mark Field kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, they have a Rich Brooks Field. And he is also an Oregon State alumnus and a former player at Oregon State.
Okay.
What kind of bizarro world is that, right?
Was he an Oregon coach at least or something? Do we know what the connection was?
There. He was there. He kind of helped build the foundation that was Oregon football in the 90s or whatever.
Well, I guess that's not quite as bad, I guess.
Yeah, but still.
I know. Dooley went to Auburn.
Right. But here's where I'll go with that. Um, I'm gonna rattle off some rivalries here, and you tell
Okay.
me which one has been played the longest. Iron Bowl, the big game, cocktail party, Notre Dame versus USC, Red River rivalry, the game, and Civil War. Which
Hmm.
one of those has been played the longest and the most often?
Mm. So, I mean, I know, like, actually, so was Deep South's oldest rivalry? Was Georgia Auburn in there? Because Georgia Auburn is older than even, or has been played more times, I think, than the Iron Bowl even.
That
But
wasn't in the list, Jim. Come on now.
interesting. Okay. We'll go with Civil War.
That is correct, Jim.
Yeah.
The Civil War has been played longer than all of those rivalries, which I found completely fascinating.
That is interesting. I mean, like, I figured there was a connection, kind of like how I tipped off that Oregon played Auburn. But interesting. Yeah, man, that's crazy actually. Because
I have,
you just don't think about West Coast football like that. You know?
yeah, exactly. I feel like that should change, give folks a little bit of a perspective. I have a couple other fun facts for you. Between the third quarter and the fourth quarter, UGA is known for playing, fanfare, right? So
Yeah.
the Krypton fanfare. Oregon's song is "Shout." Do you know why they sing that song "Shout"?
I do not. And like which shout? There's multiple
Like,
shouts that I can think of.
like the old like
Okay.
Fox
Okay.
27 oldies shout.
Okay. Okay.
Kick your
Cool.
heels up, shout.
Okay. So
Um,
not Tears for Fears. Sorry, this is where my brain goes. Okay, continue.
no, not at all. Um, so they sing that song because of Animal House.
Oh,
The
okay.
movie Animal House was filmed in Eugene, and they used the scene Animal House. They used
Got
that
it.
scene as from the campus of the University of Oregon.
Got it. Got it. Nice. Okay. I feel like I should have known that. I feel like I actually have heard that one and just didn't think of it. Okay, that is cool. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I have another fun fact.
Yeah, you're on a roll. Keep it going.
Their logo is what, Jim?
Their logo, the duck,
The
or the
duck.
mascot's the duck.
That
Yeah.
is correct. The
Right.
duck is the mascot. How many times has the mascot shown up on a helmet in one of their uniform iterations?
Oh. Oh, see, I feel like I should know this because there's that hooked on helmets guy on TikTok, and I feel like I watched an Oregon one. I know he's had the Georgia one. It's not a lot. It's less than you would think, right? Like it's not a huge number, or am I getting
I
it
don't
wrong?
know. You tell me.
I'm
This
gonna
is,
go
this is
like,
part of the quiz.
or I'm gonna go extreme. I'm gonna go like once, like because I feel like there was like a Rose Bowl or something where they put the actual duck on the helmet.
Despite popular belief, the duck has never been on the helmet on any of Oregon's uniforms, which I was
What?
absolutely floored by.
I feel like that's fake.
You feel like that's fake?
I feel like no. I feel like this is just another example of the Mandela effect.
The Mandela
Um,
effect in full force, right? Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Like, what the heck?
I swear I've seen. I feel like there's one with like the duck like peeking out behind the O or something. Like, am I making? Or maybe that's just like their basketball logo or something. Like kind of like an old school type one. Interesting. Okay,
Yes.
that's
So
awesome. That's a good one.
I did want to go back and revise one of the items that I was talking about with Civil War.
Hmm.
So I mentioned that it was older than some of the other ones. It's the seventh oldest rivalry in college football.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's still pretty old.
One more fun fact about Oregon.
Okay, hit it.
This will be the last one because I know we got to move on.
No, you're good.
So 1983 Civil War was played to a 0-0 tie. That was the very last tie in NCAA college football.
Amazing. What was the year again?
1983. That was
Okay.
the last 0-0 tie in Division One football history.
I want-
That's it. That's all I got.
all I can see in my head is like the Frank Beamer when they were going to overtime, Virginia Tech, and he was like celebrating the tie. I wonder like
Oh,
how did everyone react? Like, was it a good tie or a bad tie? Because there's differences.
wasn't there? God, what was the Mississippi State coach that got fired? The African American head coach that got fired.
Sylvester Croom.
Yeah, Kroom. So Kroom, and they got to like, it was like a 6-3 game or something like that. Mississippi State, like it was like
Yeah.
kicking field goals. Like, can you imagine 0-0? Like that just does not compute.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, I think you're thinking of I think like the 9. It was like 9-6. I think it was Mississippi
Nine.
State. Mississippi State Auburn. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That was good. Those are good. I like this.
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, I got a couple of news and notes, not a whole lot. So the one thing that I guess big news, or there was a lot of stuff floating around on Twitter today. Eric Gilbert got in a car accident, but he is okay. Like so, and there was a flurry about that, but we heard from Graham Coffey and him and John Tweets both that Eric was not injured. He's totally fine, and he was at practice today. He was a full participant, so glad to hear that he's okay. So that's I guess the silver lining there. Hate that happened, but glad to know Eric is okay.
Yeah, I was glad to see how those guys handled it too, because
yeah, that's true.
Sounds like that information was available, and we just didn't want to jump the gun, or they didn't want to jump the gun before facts emerged. So
yes,
I appreciate those boys. If you were a subscriber of Dog Central, which we should definitely recommend you go over there for that type of information.
Yep, for sure. And then I've just got a couple of things from Kirby's press conference. He did get asked about the fact that Oregon has not yet named the starting quarterback, which I think you kind of hinted at earlier, John. I thought his response was pretty funny. He said, that really doesn't impact anything for us. I mean, I know who the quarterback is going to be. I'm not worried about that. So Kirby not buying the smoke there from Dan Lanning sounds like, I'm assuming Kirby is confident that it's going to be Bo Nix. And then the only other thing,
wasn't there another coach that was talking about like not naming any starters?
Oh, I'm not sure.
That was in the news. I feel like that was in the news recently, and I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was like Auburn, maybe. It was one of our rivals. It was either Auburn or Florida. I can't remember. They're like, yeah, they're not going to release a depth chart, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't release one either. So like, I can't really fault them. And then the other thing I had was just on the injury front. So I think this was the first time actually that Kirby confirmed and like talked about Andrew Paul's ACL tear. So something we all knew about, but finally we heard it from Kirby today. But then on the other guys, so he did say Tate Ratledge has been back practicing, doing a great job. Kieris has been back practicing ever since that one scrimmage where he went out. Denylon has been back practicing since the second scrimmage. And then he actually said Tyke Smith has been practicing all of fall camp. So that was all that he said about injuries. I did not hear the word hopeful come out of his mouth. So I feel like that's a pretty good fall camp when we don't have Kirby talking about hopeful at all. So
I mean,
that's
right?
That's good. That's pretty good. I was pretty shocked by that. So I was excited about that.
That's a news and notes.
Right?
How many hopefuls did we hear this week, Jim?
Dude, if we had last week set over under Kirby hopefuls for the Oregon Oregon week press conference, I would not have. If you had said it at 0.5, I wouldn't have taken the under. If you had said it at 1.5, I doubt I would have taken the under. So that was good news. Non-Georgia, I do want to say rest in peace, Cot Commander. It sounds like that name, the South Carolina mascot, will not be named Cot Commander, even though that was the winner in the online poll. So do you even know what I'm talking about?
Refresh my memory for everyone else.
So South Carolina's mascot changed owners. So for example, the Seiler family owns Uga. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a family that owns the actual chicken that is the Gamecocks like their live mascot. And they sold the chicken to someone else. And and there's been like a dispute over how to style the feathers on top of the chicken's head, because like the prior owners used to like give it like a mohawk almost to look like a Gamecock. And the new owners are like, yeah, we're not doing that. And so they said, okay, fine. Well, then you can't now. You don't have rights to use like the name, whatever it was called. It was called like Sir. I don't even, this is the funny thing is I don't even know what his old name was. Sir something. And they were like, so now they had to change the name. So like there was a newspaper that did a poll of like what should the new name be,
Oh,
and
that's what that was.
one of the options was Cot Commander, and it was like got all the votes. So it's not what it's gonna be. I don't even know what it
Oh,
is either. I just thought that was funny. Something they came up with some other name, so they had to change the name of the chicken. It's so ridiculous, but they were amazing options. They was good. So, anyways, I'll
I
move on.
love it. I love it. They
I'll
might
move
as
on.
well just own it.
I thought you would get a kick out of that. I know you're dismayed for the Gamecocks, so
God, I hate South
thought
Carolina.
you would enjoy that. I thought you would enjoy that. All right, well let's talk. Okay, so for the first time in a long time, we get to talk about like actual like matchup type stuff. Um, so we'll just kind of do what we usually do. We'll start off with Georgia's offense, or basically Georgia's offense, Oregon's defense. So like, what are we looking at when Georgia has the ball? Um, so I mean, I've got a couple of things I can hit quickly. Number one, I'm excited to see what Stetson Bennett looks like with the full offseason as QB1. He actually talked about that in his media time today, that even last year coming in, he was basically third string. So just the difference in being able to have summer workouts and really have timing down with the receivers. And he talked about some specifics around like, if AD turns his hips, it means this. And I can look at something in Lad's arm and there's elbow or whatever for keys. So that's pretty cool. So I'm excited to see what that
Hmm.
does. Excited to see what Kenny McIntosh does as running back one. I'm curious to see like what the rotation is, right, between running backs. How much are we going to see of Milton and your boy Dejan? Um, and then like on the offensive line, right? So like who's going to be the left guard? That seems to be kind of the open question. I know Graham has predicted it's going to be Xavier Truss. So that would give us Jones, Truss, Van Pran, Ratledge, and McClendon across the line. I think Willock is another potential at left guard, but
Yeah, I mean, you figure that. I mean, that makes sense, right? To me, that lineup makes sense. I'm not sure that that's how we'll go. I'd be curious to know if Graham would say that that's how we end the season.
yeah. It's a good question. Um, I think one of the potential people to see come in eventually is Mims, right? But
Hmm.
I think the issue with Mims is that he is I mean, we think of him as a tackle, and I think that like Jones and McClendon kind of have those tackle spots locked down. But I mean, you can put those, you could pull an Amarius Mims inside a guard potentially. So I think that could be it though. Although I don't know. I think Willock was the guy that I was kind of thinking would be there in the mix. I think to me the key thing is Ratledge and his foot and his turf toe, and making sure that he's okay there and can have durability there. Because I think you know we had injuries last year too, right? And like that was a huge one. The fact that we were able to play we did the way we did without him last year, I think was pretty impressive. So I'm really excited to have him back.
Hmm.
And then I guess the last thing was just thinking about season openers and comparing this year to last year. I'm looking for like a much more wide open game plan against Oregon that we saw against Clemson, primarily just around depth at tight end and wide receiver. I went back and was watching some of that Clemson game. I mean, there was like a lot of Jalen Johnson and Justin Robinson. And Ladd. It was like the first time we'd ever seen him was in that game. So there was a
Hmm.
whole lot of youth, and we've just got so much depth. I mean, especially at tight end. I mean, we're four guys deep there. Although dealt true freshmen, but still excited to see. I don't know, excited to see what the game plan is going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be looking for what's going on with the wide receivers. I am a huge, not that we're going to ever forget Kyrus, but I'm a huge fan of what I believe is going to be a big season for AD Mitchell.
Yep.
What we've heard coming out of camp is that he was having his way with some of the top defensive backs on that side of the ball in camp all season long. So that I'm hoping is going to parlay into a good season for him on the offensive side of the ball. I mentioned that
Yeah.
that catch that he had in the national championship would be his Devontae Smith moment. I think that he could be poised for a really strong season, and obviously, you can't ever count out the tight end room. I think that when we have the ball, all eyes are going to be on the tight ends every time they step out on the field. And it's really just a question of how many we're going to throw out there, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
are we ever going to see a package where they are all in is kind of what I feel like everybody's looking for. And is there a wrinkle? Is there a wrinkle that Monken can, scheme around to spring something special when they are all on the field? You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
a lot you can do with some of those guys. I mean, Bowers has deceptive speed for a guy his size. Darnell, same way. Eric, that was what he was known for, right? Like, he
Yeah.
was a big, fast guy on the outside. So, he originally came in as a wide receiver, right? So,
Yep. Yeah. No, I think you're totally right. I totally expect to see those guys flexed out. I think a good bit actually.
yeah. So outside of like the obvious, I would kind of think that those are like obvious things. So
Hmm.
I feel like that the not so obvious things that maybe people aren't really talking too much about is, are we going to see the same Stetson? By and large, it looks like that he
Hmm.
is. This is his team. We've talked about it. Like, he's had all the first team reps this entire camp. Like, what's Stetson going to look like? Is his progression going to continue, which has basically been from outside looking in, quarterback transfers, comes back, walk on,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
comes back to save the day, ends up sliding his way into the starting position based on
Hmm.
things outside of his own control.
Yeah.
Is he going to continue that progression and become, an elite quarterback? And I actually think that he could, based on everything that we've seen, the body of work that him and Monken have put together, the quarterback coaching that Bobo has,
That's a
under
good
his
point.
belt as well. We got to
Yeah.
figure, Bobo with a season there from reports, it sounds like that it's also had, Bobo's presence has also had an impact on other quarterbacks within the program as well, which will be super awesome for looking ahead. But is Stetson going to make some of those boneheaded plays that we've seen? Like, he's good for one or two like oofs a game, right? Like,
Yeah.
are we going to see that? And then the other thing is, who's going to step up on the running back side, right? So,
Yeah.
like, if you really were like isolating, I feel like the you're never going to convince people one way or the other. They're either Stetson fans or they're Stetson haters, right?
Hmm.
But on the running back side of things, I feel like that you ask a Georgia fan who the best running back is at UGA, you'll probably get, you ask five different people, you probably get five different answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's going to step up? Who's going to become running back one? I mean, I think all signs are pointing to Kenny McIntosh getting that nod this
Yep.
year. We'll see how that nets out.
Yeah. I agree with that. I do think. I mean, I love what we've seen from McIntosh, and we've just never seen him have that load. So to see if he can continue to produce like he has, like at that rate with a higher volume, that'd be pretty awesome. Um, it's funny
Do
you're talking
ducks
about.
do ducks like apples, Jim?
They're gonna like these. Actually, they won't. They won't like these, but I will. Over under. How do you like them apples? Text messages during the game. Um,
Yes.
with Stetson, it's. I'm glad you brought that up because I think like if you think back to like 2020, we were when we had Stetson as a starter, we kept saying things like we want to see him play within himself, not try to do too much, etc. Right?
Exactly.
And so you're kind of saying like, do we not have to worry about that so much anymore? The only thing
Hmm.
I will say is like, people want to put this game manager label on him, and he is not like he does not. He definitely doesn't think like a game manager. I'll say that. I'm like he is more of a gunslinger, I would say. So I mean, I think with that kind of mentality, you are going to get some mistakes, potentially. So we'll see, and and we've seen it, and he's been able to overcome it in the past. So I will say, like, don't freak out if you see one of those, because I mean, most quarterbacks do. I mean, heck, in the Clemson game last year, JT Daniels, his pick that he threw was awful. Like, it was just a horrible throw, or bad read. So I wouldn't be shocked there.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple notes about Oregon's defense. Their defensive coordinator. I mean,
Wait, they
obviously,
play defense in they play
allegedly,
defense out west?
we'll see. Dan Lanning is trying to change that. So they're, I would imagine it's going to be Dan Lanning's defense, kind of like our defense is Kirby's defense. But he does have Tosh Lupoy as his defensive coordinator, which is another guy, another former Bama assistant. So at least someone, I think they should be on the same page there.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of the guys coming back. So they've got some big boys in the defensive line. Brandon Dorlus is a defensive end. He's a junior. He was first team All Pac-12 last year. He is 6'3", 285. And their nose guard is a transfer from Washington. And I will butcher his name, but Sam Taimani, I'm going to guess. That guy's 6'2", 330. So they got some big boys. And then their linebacking core is like what they are really getting pumped up a lot. I think Phil Steele has them as like the number 4 linebacking core. And they are led by Noah Sewell. So he was another first team Pac-12 guy last year. When I left out one more defensive lineman, select their 3 starters. The third guy is the tackles Jordan Riley, and he's 6'6", 330. So they do have they've got big guys on the line. As far as Pac-12 goes, I mean, they got beat up by Utah both times they played Utah last year, but otherwise, they were very stout last season. I don't know. I question. You get into that whole like West Coast versus SEC thing. And I know like a matchup that a lot of people are looking at is our tight ends against their linebackers. Although Kirby actually did kind of scoff at that notion in the press conference today, but I feel like we should be able to create matchup issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really know what to expect on that side of the ball because I don't know. Call me. I do think that they're going to have a progression from last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just no other way around it, right? When you bring in a guy like Dan Lanning and the guy Tosh Lupoy, like these guys know how to coach defense. They know how to coach great defense. The question is like, what do they have to work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus what we have on the other side of the ball. So like, I'm a wait and see what they do. I expect that they're going to make some problems for us, but I just have a feeling that we're going to be able to throw manpower just in the sheer number of, returning starters we have on the offensive side of the ball, the sheer number of stars that we have on the offensive side of the ball, and the sheer number of or lack of numbers that they have on their side of the ball. They may have some good players here and there. They just don't have the horses yet on the defensive side of the ball to even like think about running with us over 60 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's just what they've got to figure that out on their end, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got. I mentioned the Washington transfer. They are a transfer laden team. Lanning came in and brought in a bunch of transfers. So, how do those guys gel there? I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to talk about when Oregon's got the ball? So, kind of our defense, their offense.
Let's talk about it. I think that one of the big things that we're going to be looking at is the evolution of Bo Nix, right? Like their offense is going to begin and end with that guy.
Yes.
So I fully expect that they're not going to expose him. They're going to be poking and prodding. I feel like that this is going to be very similar to a Kirby Smart type game. Dan is not going to want to have his offense put his defense behind the 8th ball by taking too many risks. So I expect there to be a mix of screens, a mix of, run plays. Like they have some pretty decent running backs from what I've gathered. Whether or not they can actually like play against an SEC defense is a little bit up there in terms of whether or not they can actually run with us. The other thing is like whether or not the offensive line can block. I've read that they've got some, they've got some studs for the offensive side of the ball from an offensive line perspective, but
Yeah.
I just don't know how they're able to hold up to the Jalen Carters of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually had a note. I had a note about that. So their offensive line, I think, so they're returning all but one guy. They're pretty experienced. So they're like upperclassmen. But the interesting thing is, so they were a semifinalist last year for the Joe Moore Award.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, who won the Joe Moore Award last year? Was it not Michigan? And what did we do to their offensive line? So that's the thing that I kind of question. It's just like what you were saying, and we talked about on the other side of the ball too. This is where I get to like the whole like Pac-12, SEC, and I'm not being like dismissive. I do think this is a good team. I think the spread is kind of high, but we'll get to that later. But like, what are they
Mm-hmm.
going to do when they face Georgia? Right? Like, because Michigan found out really quick what it was like, to face that kind of talent. So definitely something to watch. Our D line there, it comes down to the trenches, right? So like, what's that matchup going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, the outside of our defensive line, which if you're a subscriber at Dog Central, Josh Dog Stats, he put out this wonderful PDF that kind of encapsulates everything. And on page number, I think it was page number 2 or page number 1 or 2, I can't remember. Sorry, Josh. Um, but it highlights all of the stats, EPA, yards per play, yards per game, or yards per play, points, net yards per play, that kind of thing, like all of those things. And you look across UGA's line, and it's like we are like bright green, which is good
Yeah,
across offense and defense.
yeah,
And you look at like what we have going on with us, like we've talked about this before in some of our preseason episodes. Like even if UGA gives up twice as many points as they did last year, we're still leaps and bounds better than literally every other team in the country.
hmm
So
yeah,
even if you're able to crack that egg with us basically reloading, and we don't have injuries. We don't have injuries right now. Knock on wood, Jim.
knocked on my head, knocked on my
Knock
head.
on your head. Yep, good. We don't have any injuries, so it's not a rebuilding year for us guys. Like,
Mhm.
we come in healthy, so this is reload. This is reload and redo. I fully expect that to be in full display. Um, I expect that Dan is going to move the pocket around with Bo Nix. You
Yeah,
know,
yep,
um, he's going to have to, because I have a feeling he's going to be running for his life. And if Auburn was any indication, you know, Bo Nix will feel right at home.
yeah. So interesting thing is that their offensive coordinator is Kenny Dillingham. He actually was Auburn's offensive coordinator when Bo Nix was a freshman in 2019. So what does that offense look like? How much influence does Lanning have it? Is it basically that 19 offense? Which back then, that game 19, that was that Georgia team where our offense couldn't basically do anything. My lasting memory of that game was the game was basically won on a sack by Trayvon Walker of Bo Nix. So do we have something like that, right? Where we're getting after him. We don't have Adam Anderson to spy Bo Nix like we had, the last couple of years. But I think Kirby will find someone to be able to do that. We know Bo Nix, right? This staff knows Bo Nix. They've seen him 3 times. They know what he is, and it sounds like Kirby fully expects him to be the starter. So I agree. I think your opening statement of it starts and ends with Bo Nix, I think, is completely accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much more to say than that. I'll just call out a couple of things. Some of the question marks, like who's it going to be next to Dumas Johnson at inside linebacker? Again, Graham's prediction is Smile London. I think last week we talked. I said last week I expected it to be Tresman Marshall against Oregon, but Smile by the end of the year. It sounds like then maybe now already. It sounds like it may be Munden from the get go. So that'd be interesting to see. And then who's the corner opposite Ringo? it's sounding like Kamari Lassiter from everything that we're hearing. Yeah, like I think we talked about the running backs, their receivers. They did lose a lot from last year, so they lost 4 of their top 6 receivers. So it sounds like they got a talented receiver room, but inexperienced. So something else to watch out for here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Young wide receivers. They're going to be looking for the ways to prove themselves.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. I'm curious. I'll be curious to see. Going back to like talking about what you're going to look for. What you're going to look for when they have the ball, and I'm talking about Bo Nix, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how Lanning decides to attack this defense. So, is he going to try to pick on a particular cornerback, right? Because this guy, of all the coaches to coach against us this year, he knows these players inside and out. He knows their weaknesses. He knows their strengths. He knows, how to potentially like scheme ways to trick them into tendencies that put them in a position to not succeed, right?
Right.
It'll be interesting to see the poking and prodding that goes on early to see like what they're going to do in that regard, because I have a feeling that he's going to find early. They're gonna try to poke it early and see if they can expose some of those weaknesses, and if they can't, they'll probably pivot and go away from it. So I'm curious to see what happens there with who they attack based on how we line up, and it'll be interesting because Kirby, on the opposite spectrum, knows that he knows those things. So the 3D chess is gonna go between the master and commander, right? Like the Obi-Wan and the Darth Vader, or whoever is in what role there, I don't know, or what stage of Star Wars saga that's in. But yeah,
I had the then and now earlier, which I was thinking of Spaceballs. So now, earlier when I said that, so like when will then be now? And so we've got Spaceballs in Star Wars. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, it's come full circle. I mean, that's basically the chess match. I'm curious to see what the chess match looks like on the defensive side. My suspicion is that Kirby has the unfair, quote unquote, advantage of having some absolute stud athletes on his side of the ball to play that game with, whereas Lanning is on his first season, and as we all know, if he goes the pathway that other Saban disciples have come, Kirby's first season was kind of meh. Saban's first season was kind of meh. I don't know. I have to go back and look like how Dabo's first season was, how Jimbo's first season was, obviously we know Pruitt was basically meh after he left Georgia. But where is Lanning going to stand on that first season? I think everybody recognizes he's a great coach. It's just he doesn't have the players yet, and he doesn't even have the ability to recruit right now. So, are we going to be? Are we going to get that? Is Kirby going to go ahead and dunk on his old buddy or not?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I do think Lanning may be able to give, like you're saying, he's got that inside info on the personnel. They may be able to come up with something and script something. So that's where we may see some early success against that when they're on script. Frankly, like we saw again when Tennessee in Georgia last year, right? Like when Tennessee ran their script those first couple drives, they looked great, and then Georgia adjusted, and then it all fell apart. Right. So that's the thing. Like we may see some early Oregon success, but I've got confidence in Kirby and Schumann and Coach Boom to adjust to that. So, okay. Awesome. I've got 2 special teams notes before we get to listener questions. Actually I have 3. I've got 2 Georgia and 1 for Oregon. So for Georgia, back to the press conference, Kirby got a punter question. And he said that Brett Thorson, our Aussie punter, is the leader. But he did say that we could see Noah Jones. He is a redshirt freshman. I don't know. That could be a Kirby motivation thing. I expect it to be Thorson. And then this
I for one welcome our new Australian punter overlords, Jim.
Absolutely.
I have been wondering why we haven't gotten one of these guys, and I mean, it's so clearly obvious. Like, how many other teams have had those Aussie punters that have just been like MVPs for their special teams units?
I know. It felt like I agree. It just felt like we're like the only team that didn't have an Australian punter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed. So this next one, I thought this was interesting because we had a question last week, and I would have to go look up to see who asked it. So apologies, whoever asked this. We got a question about kick returner last week, and we were both kind of baffled because we were like, well, it's Kieris at punt returner, and it's McIntosh at kick returner. So, but Kirby got that question today, and he said we have kind of had our kickoff return guys lined up all along, so it has not included Kenny because Kenny was one of the primary backs, where last year he was sharing that load. He's still a kickoff return weapon and a guy we can use when we need to. So it does sound like McIntosh, as far as kickoff return, maybe like special situations, like if we need a big return or something like that. So it got me thinking, who could it be? And I don't know. I'm actually going back to our guy Kieris. Like, I think we may see Kieris returning kickoffs and punts. That's my thought there. So it sounds like we didn't see healthy Kieris last year really at all. I feel like he was never fully 100%. He certainly wasn't at the beginning of the year, and he was one of the other guys we mentioned had some kickoff returns. So him, or maybe like one of the speedy freshmen or something. I don't know. But I don't know that Kirby's going to trust them catching the kickoff. That's what I feel like could be Kieris.
Mm-hmm. Did we ever get an update on Arian?
I mean, he's out, so he had to have surgery. So
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, so like I was saying, unless it's maybe some other speedster. But from what we're hearing, it sounds like Kieris is running, like he's flying around right now, is what we're hearing out of camp. So
he has a chip on his shoulder.
That's right. Right. And he's tired everybody down now.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, can you seriously say, like, in all of this preseason coverage, like, how many times have you heard Kieris Jackson's name
outside of like us? Not
outside of the intro, like outside of like our niche community that we're
right. Yeah, nobody's talking about
getting inside sources, but like in the media, like how many times are you hearing Kieris Jackson's name?
No, he's kind of a forgotten man.
Exactly. And
I feel like he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder.
Exactly. Like, yeah. I love it. Like, never doubt Kieris.
Absolutely. We need to talk to him because we need to put that on a T-shirt, but I don't feel comfortable about that without his blessing. We'll hit him up. We may slide into the DMs. Talk to him about that.
Yeah.
While following all NIL guidelines, we don't want to have any issues there. So my Oregon special teams nugget. I thought this was interesting, and I got full disclosure. I got this from the Phil Steele. So I do have the Phil Steele this year. Thank you, Frip Dog. Frip Dog left me a Phil Steele when he was here this weekend. Oregon has two punters, and they were both brought in after spring practice. And my understanding is, I look back through it. I'm not talking like they're freshman recruits. They have two transfer punters that they brought in post spring. So I found that interesting. So how good are these punters going to be? We'll see. It sounds like they weren't too happy with their punting situation and brought in two new guys. So something to watch.
Speaking of, and sorry to back up, but speaking of not being happy with the punting situation, UGA went and had some adjustments there as well, right? They brought in the consultants and things like that.
Yeah, So it sounds like around had something to do with snapping and holding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did that to get everything ironed out with field goal kicking, I believe. And I know Kirby did mention today that he's been very pleased with Jackpod. Which reminder, it is Jackpod, not Hot Pod. But that he's been looking well. But although it is a battle for kickoff, we may see Zirkle doing kickoffs potentially.
Did Jackpot do the he did the kickoffs last year, right?
So I think it actually got spread around. Camarda did some also, and Zirkle. I feel like it was not consistent. it would kind of move.
Yeah.
They had multiple
Well,
guys to the kickoffs.
as long as you can kick it out of the end zone, I don't care how you kick it out of the end zone.
Yeah,
As long as you kick it out of the end zone.
for sure, for sure. Agreed. That was like who was the guy under Rick that was obsessed with the directional kicking? Remember with the directional kicks?
Isn't it John Fabris?
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, good pull.
We like a challenge. I'll never forget reading about that. We like a challenge. Like, are you flipping kidding me? This was back when they got the ball deeper when you kicked. Well, you got the ball at 20, right? Or
yes.
on those touchbacks back in the
Yes.
Richter era. I was like,
Yes.
God dang, are you kidding me?
So ridiculous.
This isn't NCAA football. Like, I get it. I always like to kick it to the corner too, and then tackle them on the 2-yard line. kick this sky high kickoff into the corner. But this isn't NCAA football, sir. Just kick it out the back of the end zone.
Hey, if it's in the game, it's in the game. Okay.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. Yeah. All right. You ready to hit the listener questions?
Man, we got some great listener questions. I saw them popping in on the Twitters. Let's roll.
All right. First up, Jimmy Duncan, James_this_is. He asks, favorite duck?
Scrooge.
Yes. Okay. So that's where I was gonna kind of go towards, because like I had I was like, what is he asking? Like Mallard? Like what? What kind of answer is he looking for? And then I came up with like Donald. That's where I was going to pivot to. Although I'm not going to say Donald. I'm going to go a little more edge case. I'm going to go Darkwing duck.
Ooh, Darkwing is a good one. Oh man, oh shoot! Now it reminds me. There was a superhero. There was a superhero duck in the DuckTales.
Okay.
What was that?
Okay. I can't think of his name, but I can think of what he said. Oh, I got it. Okay, but first I'm going to say what he used to say. He would say, "Blathering blatherskite," and then his suit would fly at him, and he was Gizmo Duck.
Gizmo Duck? Wasn't that it? Yeah, Gizmo Duck was cool, dude. This totally jives with the Twitter like thread that I made of like pick your favorite cartoons, and DuckTales was solidly one of them.
Which we totally forgot to discuss last week. That was my bad. I meant to bring that in. Granted, we ran really long last week, so it's probably for the better.
Yeah, seriously.
We did discover Thundercats Twitter though because of that conversation on Twitter.
Yes.
So that was good. Next up, a fellow Dog Central podcast, 100 Sanford. Be sure you go check those guys out. Our guys Lamar, Trigger Trey, Graham Coffee, obviously, and now this season, friend of My God a Podcast, George Foster, has joined 100 Sanford. So they ask, how do you like your duck cooked?
Fried.
Fried? Okay. So I'm actually not like a big eater of duck. So I was just going to say like roast, because that's kind of what came to mind. I've had a lot of like duck fat fries, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But,
so I thought my rationale behind that is that, it's a fattier poultry. So that pairs well with like just deep frying it. Just make it super bad for you.
Got it. Have you ever had a turducken? Because I have not.
I have had turducken actually.
Okay.
There's just so much going on with that. Like,
Fair.
You couldn't like pinpoint like what was this flavor or whatever. Like,
okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, like if you're talking like specifically like fried duck, like Peking duck.
Okay. Oh, no. Is that what they had in Christmas Story? In A Christmas Story?
Yeah, they had Peking duck. Remember, like they chopped off the head and all that stuff. Yeah. They're like, oh, it's looking at me, and they just Kirby smarted that bastard.
Such a good movie. Such a movie. Although, wait, no, sorry, we'll table that for Christmas, because I know that's not your favorite. Okay, man, all the Dog Central accounts coming in with questions. We got the official Dog Central handle came in, which I assume is probably either Graham or Dustin, I think. What is the best type of dog to deploy when needing to retrieve a dead duck?
I mean, you got to go with Labrador Retriever, right?
Okay,
Like,
yes, agreed. Per Google, that's the answer.
yeah,
That's the real answer. Um, so I'm going to change it up. Who would you rather have retrieve your dead duck, Uga or Hairy Dog?
Uga for sure.
Really? See, I was going Hairy Dog because Hairy Dog is like sentient, and like Hairy Dog can process things better.
No, no,
You think
no.
Uga can smell it? Remember, the question is retrieve a dead duck. Duck's already dead.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
okay,
I'm,
that's fair. Uga's on the
Uga,
scent. Uga's on
Uga's
the
on
scent.
it.
That's
Uga's
true.
on it.
I get Hairy Dog probably doesn't have a very good sense of smell with the head on.
I feel like Hairy Dog would probably make a much better GIF, but
True, true, fair.
and he would be able to tell us if it was slimy or not. Shout out Walker.
How did no one ask if our ducks slimy? I
Oh,
did actually on last week's second string. There was someone did report in that they had come into contact with the duck and it was not slimy. But I think Logan and
I
Walker chose not to believe it. So
I'm gonna go ahead and give Walker this one. We encountered two ducks at Rabbit Hill Park in Decula for Carter's soccer tournament this past weekend, which was a fantastic win for his little boys there. Um, there were two ducks for some reason just like chilling underneath this park bench inside the park. I have no idea why they were there, but they were there the entire tournament weekend. Carter went under the bench and had a tried to get a feel, and he said that tried to pet them,
yeah,
and he confirmed that those particular ducks, which were not mallards,
Hmm.
they were like the little brown speckled. I don't know. But he confirmed they were indeed slimy, Walker.
They were
They were slimy,
amazing.
according to Carter.
Okay, we gotta send them a
I
DM. We gotta alert them.
I can't I can't deny that. I can't question him because I did not confirm myself. I have to take him
Yeah,
at his word.
that's fair. Fair. All right, let's see. Next up, Fletcher Proctor. Which Kirby tree branch between Lanning, Pittman, and Tucker will have the most success over the next 5 years? And then he says, who has the highest ceiling? Um, Fletcher said, I would say Lanning based on conference unless Oregon moves to the B1G, the Big Ten. I, I'll jump off. I think that's fair. I think I would agree if they stay in the Pac-12, just with it being Oregon, the brand they have, the Nike money. I would agree there. Pittman, I love Pittman, but I
He's too
think
old.
Arkansas is hard. I think Arkansas is a hard place to be successful.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Honestly, I think Tucker. That's a bit same at Michigan State. Like you're playing second. Like no offense to Michigan State people, but you're playing second fiddle to Michigan. I think I don't know. I'm gonna hold off for now. I guess as a body of work because I have no body of work for Landing. Landing, I would say I guess highest ceiling, but for now I'd probably say I'm gonna lean Tucker on the next 5 years until I see something from Landing. But I think Landing has a high ceiling.
Okay, so this is going to be a little ageist. So for the olds out there, don't be offended.
I'm an old,
Um,
but that's okay. Continue.
I'm also an old too, but all right. So Mel Tucker is 50.
Okay.
Um, I don't even know. I mean, Sam Pittman's older than that, right?
I think so. I think so.
Dan Lanning is 36. Yeah, Pittman is
Wow.
60.
God, I'm so old. How is Dan Lanning 6 years younger than me? Okay, keep going.
So Pittman's 60. So
Hmm.
just based on that
Yeah.
alone, I would say that the longevity factor for Lanning is in his favor by the sheer fact that he's a head coach, like what 20, almost 20 years ahead of these guys. So, 20 plus years ahead of these guys. So he's got 20 years of learning and experience that he could potentially acquire. And he's from the Saban tree. He's from the Alabama family. He's from the Kirby Smart,
Hmm.
tree as well. So like, I don't know, man. I have a feeling that we're going to see Dan Lanning in the SEC not in the not too distant future. And I really hate this, but it would not shock me to see him at like an LSU or a Florida pretty soon.
Okay, that's fair.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. Cool. All right, next up, Zach, SC Dog, 864, friend of the show, frequent questioner, and winner of our G-Day hat raffle, by the way. Any chance we see the backups play more than a quarter tonight, or is it going to be a closer game than that? And then are you guys going? So we already talked about if we were going. So I am going. John is unable to make it.
I'm like 70-30. We'll see.
Okay. Up in the air, TBA. Do you want to take this one first? Or you want me to go?
Yeah, I would say that backups are going to be playing in the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter, because I would agree, but I don't think they're going to play more than a quarter. I just feel like that's not Kirby's MO, regardless. Like, and we saw last year, right? Even like Tennessee game, I mean, we had our guys in later than I would have liked. So I'm going to say slam dunk. I don't see that happening.
Listen, he's going to be looking for a statement.
Yep.
It's against his former, protege or whatever, his defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of competitiveness in that coaching tree. Let's just say that.
Agreed. Fair. Janya. I was going to say this as Janya because he's got the Acuna tilde on top of his name. John Michael D. Other than the obvious choice of chicken with USC Junior, which opposing team this year has the tastiest mascot in real life?
Oh, nice. I actually remember seeing this question. I meant to go back and look at the roster at the schedule again just to double check. But
hold on. Thankfully, I have my trusty Phil Steele here. Are you ready? You ready for the schedule? So we got the Oregon is the Ducks, Samford with an M, not an N. I believe they are the Bulldogs.
They are the Bulldogs.
You get the South Carolina Gamecocks. You got the Kent State Golden Flashes. I don't know that that's edible. Missouri Tigers, Auburn Tigers, Vanderbilt Commodores, We're Not Cannibals, Florida Gators, Tennessee Volunteers, Mississippi State Bulldogs, Kentucky Wildcats, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
I mean, it's got to be Gator, right?
I think so. Fried gator tail is.
Wait, he said amazing. other than South Carolina, so that leaves Duck on the table, right?
Yeah, it does leave Duck. Yeah,
I'm going to take Duck.
You take Duck. I'm going to go
Gator tail. Even though the novelty of that factor of just like butchering the Florida Gators like you do on the field, that's fantastic and all as in theory. However, I find that gator tail is chewy as a mofo, so I'm going to go with Peking duck.
That's why you got to go with the fried gator tail. And there used to be a place in Alpharetta. Maybe it was coming like up off of Highway 20, right up there at 400. I forget what it was called. There used to be a place up there like Buckhead something. They had amazing fried gator tail. So I love that.
Actually, well, hang on. I'm going to pivot here.
Okay.
Bear with me. Hold on. What's the top 25 right now?
Well, that's not the question.
I know.
This is Georgia's schedule.
It has a there's a reason. There's a reason for. You got Buckeyes.
I like a good baked potato. What is going on here?
I'm trying to think of like who else is going to be on Georgia's roster.
On Georgia's schedule, like in the postseason.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Like elephant, elephant.
Wow. Okay, yeah. So you got Bama in the SEC championship. We can go with our predictions. Was Ohio State Buckeyes, Utah. I don't know what a Ute is. You could go with somebody else, I guess, if you wanted to. I mean, you wanted to have it be Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, and Ohio State.
Damn,
that was amazing. So yeah, I don't think you want to eat Wolverine.
Yeah, I don't want to eat Wolverine.
But I mean, Buckeye. I feel like Buckeye. You could be the Buckeye.
What the hell is a Buckeye? Even?
It's a potato.
No, it's not. Is it? No, yeah. I thought it was a nut. I thought it was like a nut.
No. Google it. Although if I'm wrong, I'm going to edit this out.
What is a Buckeye? Can you eat Buckeyes?
Well, it does look like it's a nut.
They can be collected in late summer as they turn leathery in color. Peeling capsule apart. Seeds resemble an edible chestnut.
I mean, the mascot looks like a potato. I thought it was a
But
potato.
Ohio Buckeye fruits are not edible and can be toxic.
Okay, so we're not eating that.
I would say that puts them solidly outside of the potato
Okay,
category.
okay. I was gonna take that out, but you making fun of me is too funny, so I'll leave it in. All right. Oh yeah, he said. I will add. John Michael D said to him, it's duck, and it's not particularly close. So I think you agree with him. And he did
Correct.
add
It's
it.
duck. However, we're thinking small. We need to think bigger. We need to think
Well,
bigger here.
but
Like on our schedule.
well, hold on though. Hold on though. I got to add. He had a clarification. I should have mentioned that right away. I respect that John Michael D includes clarifications. He said
He knows
clarification.
us too well.
Ducks hunted and eaten are way better than that restaurant duck nonsense. So he likes a wild duck that's been hunted.
John, I hope you bring your duck. I hope you bring your hunted duck to the ATD tailgate. I'll just say that.
Amazing. Love it. All right. M Dubs. Hey, Michael Smith, friend of the show. We got to see if he's going to be here for Oregon. Need to check that out. He lives out there, so I don't know if he's coming to Atlanta for this one.
Yeah, we need some perspective out here.
Yeah. We'll reach out to him. Oregon's offensive line is strong. Without Devontae and JD, likely harder to get pressure on Nix this game. Do you think he performs better in those circumstances, or will he still revert to his backyard football instincts? He adds, by the way, I'm not asking, is he focused? Is he having fun? ... Which we always welcome those tweet references. I'm gonna say it's Bo Nix, and Bo Nix is gonna do what Bo Nix does. I 100% expect to see Bo Nix backyard football on full display on Saturday. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that. I mean, that's kind of what he's known for, right? Like,
Yeah.
trouble arises inside, and let me bounce it outside.
Yep. And I think that I think it goes back to also the earlier conversation, right? Like, Oregon is said to have a great offensive line, but what do they look like against Georgia? Like, can we do to them what we did to Michigan? So we'll see.
Yeah,
But I feel like it's in his DNA to play backyard football. That's just what he does.
I thought that the Oregon did have some injuries. Didn't
Do they have O-line injuries?
didn't they have some injuries? I thought. Yeah, it was an offensive lineman. Malasela. I'm going to butcher the hell out of this guy's name. Sorry, Carter. Malasala Amuavi Laul.
So yeah, well, it says he's dealing with a minor injury. That was a while ago.
Yeah, minor ding. Yeah, I could have sworn that I saw that they had some injuries, but
no, that was Alabama.
got him. Just call the season off. I think John said that today. Shout out, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe Oregon is not under such media scrutiny as an SEC school, so maybe they don't have to divulge those types of severity of such things. So
well, I don't think they haven't even started class, right? Like that was the other thing we talked about. Like because they don't fall under those like practice or restrictions because they haven't started school. So Lanning's got more time.
We did talk about that, and
yeah.
I think that John clarified, though. I think he still clarified that they. I think I can't remember what it was. I think it was in the text thread, or if it was on Twitter. I can't remember, but like he had mentioned that they don't start school until September 27th, so they're still a month out from starting school. So when he mentioned that, I still think that they are still bound by NCAA guidelines on meeting times or something like that.
Okay,
but like they obviously don't have the responsibilities outside of that realm, and so that's where I think that SEC like killer mentality that Dan Lanning, and this is why I mentioned it, and wherever it was, I think it was a text thread, but they have these optional team workouts, Jim, over the summer.
Right.
So like, even though we're not in school, we're expecting you to like bust your butt, and maybe we're not there as a formal coaching like situation, but we've got like a friend of a GA or something like that that's out there running things for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, we'll
Well,
see.
I think we've already answered this next one. So apologies to Texas Dog. I assume it's Texas Dog at TX Dog 5. But I'll read it. Hearing a lot about Oregon's offensive line, but how do they stack up to an SEC or Georgia front seven? Good in the Pac-12 seems like it won't translate. So I'll just go back to my line earlier around like, the whole Joe Moore Award, right? They were semifinals last year, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that Michigan won that last year. So like,
Michigan absolutely won last year.
so and we saw what Georgia did to them. So hopefully that happens again on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
51-7 GATA. Actually, we kind of already talked about this one too. If weather allows, do you want the roof open or closed Saturday at Mercedes Benz Stadium? And he said, considering my seat location, I say closed. 51-7 GATA. Send me a DM. Let me know where you're at because would love to meet up. We sit like in the same section in home games. But
nice.
So you were saying, right? So I guess I have two answers. I think he's right on like the personal preference as a fan. Maybe you want it closed.
For sure.
But
with
for
apologies, fans.
Right. But for a competitive standpoint.
Open.
Yeah, for a competitive statement, you want it open. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
That's my I would love it to be open for like several days prior to as well, just so that I'm clear. Like let the humidity marinate in that stadium.
Yes. Agreed.
Just let it just sit there, and just as soon as they walk in the door, just have it feel like a swamp in there.
Agreed. 110%, as we used to say in season 1.
Yes.
All right, another friend of the show, Jason Huggins at HugDog18. He's got 3 questions and then a statement. Number 1, over under 4.5 hours of sleep on Friday night.
I'm going to have over for sure. I don't know about Hug Dog because he's a strapping young lad at the University of Georgia. So
no, you're hold on. You're confusing Huggins.
Oh, dang. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, maybe he's there. I don't know.
You're thinking of Hambone.
Thinking of Hambone, yeah.
Dude, Hambone, I mean, he's in college. He gets like 12 hours, probably.
That's true. I don't know, man. I'm gonna sleep wonderful on Friday. Although it's gonna depend on what we got going on with the volleyball. I need to check on that.
I'm gonna say this. I hope I get more than 4.5 hours because otherwise I'm gonna be like non-functional on Saturday. So I'm gonna set a goal to get more than 4.5 hours. And I'm gonna add one more tidbit. I will be at my parents' house. And I will most likely sleep in one of the guest bedrooms that is in the basement that has no windows and it is like pitch dark. So I usually sleep like a baby in that room. So I'm going to knock on my head, knock on wood, and hopefully that happens here.
Yes.
Number 2, can our young but talented defense play fast enough to overcome their lack of experience? I love the way that's worded because we lose a lot of experience from last year, but we actually do return a pretty good amount of experience just because of the way that we rotate guys. I feel like the answer is yes. We can do that.
Yes.
We're quick on that one.
Yes.
This is a good one. How much will we miss Jake Camarda?
So that's a great question. Obviously, it remains to be seen. Like I said, the Aussie punter situation. I mean, having a guy come from that, prestigious program.
Program being the country of Australia. I'm just kidding. Continue.
No. I mean,
I know it's like pro kick. I think it's like pro kick Australia or something like that.
Yeah. That's literally what these guys do. It's kind of like going out and grabbing, Ronald Acuna from the Dominican Republic or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Right.
they literally breed these kids down there.
Yep. Yeah. So agreed.
I
I
would
think
say I would say not. I would say not too much. I hope that we don't miss Jake Camarda because that means we're punting an awful lot, and I hope that he has less punts than Jake ever had.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, missing him means that we had to punt. Like you're assuming that we're gonna punt.
Yeah,
um, no, but like the only thing that concerns me about this whole pro kick, these guys, is that like they're coming from basically like a training camp type thing where like they haven't actually played football. They've just been like learning how to punt there. So I don't know. We'll see. I agree. I hope not. But like if it of anything, like the experience factor, and also like I'll say this. I think it's kind of like the defense, right? Where you can take a step back and still be pretty dang good. And I think that applies here because Jake Camarda was incredible. So we can have a bit of a drop off at punter and still have a pretty good punter. So that's where I'll go. And then his statement was just glad you're back, gents, and go dogs. So good to be back. We're back in the full swing of things.
we're here
Thank
for
you.
you.
That's right. Thank you, Jason, and hope to actually get to meet in person. Have not been able to connect with Jason or Hambone just yet, so hopefully we will remedy that this season. And now, so update. Still need to talk to Coach Trillbill on if he wants to keep the music or not. We're going to keep it until he tells us otherwise, or until it changes. I'll force the subject when the SEC is not on CBS anymore. It is time for Coach Trillbill's over unders. So we've got 3 offense, 3 defense, and then a couple other miscellaneous. So offense over under 2.5 passing touchdowns. What do you got, John?
I'll let you go first.
I was going to let you. That's why I said, what do you got, John?
I'm going to go over.
Okay. I'll go under to disagree. Oh, I don't know. I really want to go under. I mean, over. I'm going to go over. I'm going to stick with you. Although here's the thing, I feel like whatever I say is not the math's not going to work with my score prediction.
The maths are not going to work because I have a feeling I know what you're going to say for the next question.
Over under 2.5 rushing touchdowns.
I was going to say over. The math is totally not going to match up.
Yeah, I was going to go opposite of the two, and I was going to go the other way, but now I'm thinking about it. So I'll go under. I think we could have 2. I'm going to go over passing and under on rushing. Over under 350 yards of offense.
Over.
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna go over. Okay, and then on defense, there's a theme here. Over under 2.5 Bo Nix touchdowns.
Under.
Agreed. Under. Over under 2.5 Bo Nix sacks.
Over.
Over. Okay. I think that's a good line. I could see it being 2, but I'm going to be positive and go over. Over under Bo Nix picks, and he spelled picks PIX 1.5.
Push.
Okay, I'm gonna go under, but I do think he has 1 for the record.
Yeah, I'll go under.
Okay, and then away from those, so special teams touchdowns 0.5. Over under 0.5.
I'm gonna go under.
Agreed. I'm gonna go under. And then I talked to Coach Trill about this. I told him this one was my favorite. Dan Lanning coached at UGA reminders during the telecast. Over under 5.5.
All right, so are we counting the on-screen graphics? Because if we're counting on-screen graphics, we're screwed.
It's not a drinking game. It's not a drinking game. It's just over unders.
Smash the over. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it's got to be the over. Although sometimes with things like that, like you think it, like you feel like it, they're going to talk about like nonstop. I don't know. I feel like we're good for like at least 3 like before kickoff.
that's why I say like the on-screen graphic though. Like because I don't think that they're going to mention it very often, but I do think that it's going to be in like the on-screen graphic.
Right. Oh, that's true. That's true. I don't know, man. I think they're gonna mention it. I think it's gonna be like how many sideline reports with the sideline reporter, like Molly McGrath. Like every time they're gonna be like they're gonna go to her. She's like, Dan Lanning coached at Georgia last year. I feel like it's gonna be a lot. Okay.
Yeah, they'll probably be mentioning it like, well, Dan Lanning mentioned this about Kirby Smart because he coached there, that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. I agree. Okay. So wait, we were both over. I think.
yeah, we're gonna go over.
Okay. Which reminder: we do not track these on Coach Drill Bills. Over unders. We rely on Coach to track that.
We're about to give predictions, and I have a feeling that the maths are not going to add up.
That's okay. So before we get to actual game predictions, I think we talked about this last week, but I'm going to bring it up again. I wanted to have us do our official My God a Podcast uniform combination predictions for this game. I know last week we had like an over under, I think, on uniform combos for the season. You are on record as saying we're going to have the most boring combination for this game, in part as a like an intimidation factor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you are Georgia, red helmets, red jerseys. Well, or okay. So as far as I know, we're the home team. I still haven't seen anyone like official say, but I will say Georgia released the official wallpaper, like phone wallpaper, today, and it's a picture of Keely Ringo with the traditional, red helmet, red jersey, silver breeches. So, so that your official prediction for this game? That is mine as well. Okay. What about Oregon? What do you think Oregon's going to do? So let's assume. I feel like we have to make some construct. Let's assume Georgia's the home team. I guess if we were wearing red, I assume. Although I'm going to add this. I feel like you could have red and green are different enough, so Oregon doesn't necessarily have to be white. I feel like they're going to do something crazy. I'll give mine.
All right, go ahead.
Why? Because I feel like you're thinking. I'm going to say Georgia is going to wear the traditional, like I said, the traditional home uniform, and Oregon is going to wear some kind of like almost like highlighter green, like a bright green.
I don't know, man. I'll just gonna say I'll say that I expect them to come out in like the highlighter green and all black.
Okay, like with like the highlighter accents or something like that. Yeah, I could see that. I could see something like that. I feel like they'll do something. They'll do something weird. Okay. But I think the key thing, like, not that we know.
I'll give you my rationale behind it.
Okay.
Dan Lanning was a coach at the University of Georgia where everybody wanted all black. They wanted the black jerseys. Dan Lanning's going to give the Oregon players the black jerseys in his very first game as a recruiting pitch.
I like that.
You'll never get to wear that black jersey at Georgia, guys. Come to Oregon.
That's good, you guys. That's good. I like that. I like the background there. That's good.
I really have no idea.
Yeah, I don't really know either. I just feel like their regular green might be too like you got to have the proper contrast levels. So that's why I went with the highlighter. And I've just seen they wear crazy stuff. Okay, enough of that. Okay, so for our final predictions, I'm going to hit the odds, and the line did move actually since yesterday. So I looked this up. At yesterday, Georgia was favored by 17.5. As of today, Monday, Georgia is favored by 17. And then the over-under also dropped a point. Or sorry, the over-under went up by a point. So yesterday, on Sunday, the over-under was 52. Today, the over-under is 53. So one of the things I like to point out is kind of the implied score. Like if you were to just do the math of the over-under total points and then the spread. With the spread being a whole number, it makes it a lot easier. So the implied score would be Georgia 35, Oregon 18. That'd be the implied score. Do you want me to go first or do you want to go?
So 35-18.
35-18 would be the implied score if you take the total number and then subtract the spread and make that math work. Yeah.
That would And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not in mid-season form on these things, but that means that they don't cover or they do
Well, yeah,
cover.
that actually, so that's the funny thing is like usually those implied scores, you have like a half number in there and they don't really totally make sense. But since the spread is actually 17, 35 to 18 would be the push where like you actually, you push both the over under and you push the spread would be
Got it.
35-18. Yeah. So that would be the
Got it.
exact over under hits and the spread is exactly right. Does that make
Got it.
sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have some general thoughts if you want me to go first or.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So here's my thing. Like everyone is talking about the fact that like Oregon's going to have some kind of advantage with Dan Lanning, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
Lanning came from Georgia, he knows Georgia's players, etc. But what no one's talking about is the fact that Brian McClendon, Georgia's wide receivers coach, last year, what was he? He was Oregon's receivers coach. And on top of that, he was Oregon's interim head coach for their bowl game after Cristobal left. So, like, I feel like that's the kind of thing we're forgetting. So, I feel like in general,
I That's actually a very, very accurate statement. I don't know that I've heard anybody talking at all, 0% about that.
yeah. So, like, I feel like the whole, like, I know your roster and I know your team is probably overblown anyway. But I feel like the fact that we've got McClendon pretty much negates it. Honestly, at least as far as roster. The only thing I'll say there is I did say that Oregon had a lot of transfers, so he's not going to necessarily know about those guys. But for the guys that were on their roster, he's going to know about them, right? So especially when you add in the fact that he was the interim head coach, right? So that's my thing there. And then the other thing there is like we also know their defensive scheme, right? Because not only was Lanning our defensive coordinator, he also grew up in, he's part of the Saban tree too. So and then the other thing, finally, I'll say is we've seen their offensive scheme when Kenny Dillingham was the offensive coordinator at Auburn, again with Bo Nix in 2019. So with all that said, I'm going to go Georgia 34-17. That is a push. That's actually hitting the spread exactly in the under.
So I don't like the way that this sets up from a betting perspective. Like
Yeah.
just because there's no way, like what the predicted score on OddsShark, right? This one of the, if you remove like the maths on the spread and
Yeah.
the total consensus, but then like you got the OddsShark predicted score. When I saw 25.8 to 44.84, 26 to 44, right?
Yep.
That just seems really high on the Oregon Ducks side.
I
Like
agree.
I don't see them scoring more than 18 against us. I could
Can
see
I
like
can I give you a fun fact to back that statement up?
go ahead.
So last year, the first time the team scored 17 points against Georgia was the Tennessee game. And we don't play Tennessee in October anymore. So Georgia gave up 3 points, 7 points, 13 points, 0 points, 0 points, 10 points, 13 points, 7 points, 6 points, and they gave up 17. So again, we've said the defense is likely to take a step back on points allowed, but that'd be a huge shift for us to give up 25 points in the opener.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm gonna go 45-18.
Okay.
I wanted to go 33-18, but like I just I don't know. I think we're gonna do better than that.
I am deceased.
Well, so are the Ducks. Sorry, guys,
Holy
but I
cow.
just don't see it
Ooh.
happening. I actually made the maths work, so that's my rationale.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I have to take a moment. Um, I will say, like, I definitely don't want to be like dismissive. I actually like with my score. I actually think I do think that they may have some stuff scripted, and I think they may have some early success, but I expect us to adjust. That's kind of how I think this game's gonna go. When we talked
So
earlier about like, are we going to see the reserves for more than a quarter? And
I
I don't
was
think so. But like, you know,
well, even still, I was just about to say like my score line is a caveat to like if we start to see, the game's getting out of hand in the third quarter, Kirby pulls the starters, but then like all of a sudden we get a couple of garbage time touchdowns or whatever.
right?
I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
totally see something like that happening. Like
yeah.
I can absolutely see something like that happening just from a gentleman's perspective, because if they end up like whooping them the way that I feel like that's going to happen, I don't think that Kirby's the type of guy to put 60 on Dan Lannon.
I would agree.
So I could foresee them pulling the starters and keeping the starters out in the fourth quarter, and they put a couple of touchdowns on us in the fourth quarter or something like that, which would make it like, like a 44-20, 21 or something like that, or 24. And then everybody's like, oh yeah, we scored 24 on Georgia. And I was like, yeah, no, yeah. No,
Right. I think the funny thing is with Kirby, I feel like his MO is like when you're up big, like when you get up, right? With like once you feel comfortable, I feel like the offense goes kind of conservative, but then it's like leave the starters in on defense. We're not giving them any points.
Fair.
Right?
Tough, but fair. Yeah, I like that. I like that. If we could do that, that'd be fantastic. I do think that there is a little bit of vanity. Just being honest, I do think there's a little bit of vanity on those defensive stats, but he doesn't give a shit about that offense stuff. Sorry, Carter.
Sorry, Carter.
I think that's like a Tyler Dogden. That's like a Tony Waller. That's like a Tony Waller thing. Like y'all go over there and do that offense.
This is true. This is true. Sorry, Carter T-shirts available now. As stored on mypodcast.com.
You too can say sorry, Carter.
All right, man. I gotta say, man, like this has been fun. Like getting to talk about an actual game. Like, holy cow! I still can't believe it's here. But this is
Jim and John. We're talking about football, and it's gonna happen.
Oh man, we've come a long ways from the Twitter DMs when you initially didn't realize it was me and I had to DM you and tell you it was me. We'll have to tell that full story. So I will be at the game. I'll be with my dad. I'll be with my sister and my nephew is the current plan. You are 70-30, most likely not there. We'll see. But sounds like with soccer schedule, right? Soccer schedule most likely is the.
It's soccer related, yeah. Okay. So we've got. I'm going to be gone like all day Labor Day for a 5v5 tournament that Carter's playing in with a bunch of like, ironically enough, I think I mentioned this on Twitter. Like they beat the number one team in the state. They've had our number. That's basically like the Alabama Georgia story.
Yeah. GATA Carter.
Yeah. No. Legit. We talk about the Olympic team that he plays on. Like half the team is from his team and half the team is from one of this other team, and then there's like a hodgepodge of other players interspersed. They all know each other, right? So it's like Alabama, Georgia. So he's playing in a 5v5 tournament with a large contingent from that other team. So it's like combining forces kind of thing. So I'm gonna be gone all day Monday for that, and then I've been gone from the St. Louis trip, and so it's really going to depend on how flexible my wife wants to be.
Right. Yeah, we actually have to have like we're doing like a divide and conquer kind of deal. Like I'm going to be in Atlanta going to this game. You with my dad and sister, and then Kim's taking the girls to see her parents actually. So.
Nice.
They'll be up in the big canoe, at least for part of the weekend. Yeah. So we gotta.
Can I send my kids to both her?
I gotta say, great golf course. If you've never played there, highly recommended.
Awesome.
So yeah,
I heard good things about Big Canoe. That's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Her parents have been there for a while. So
awesome. Well,
Cool.
hopefully I'll see you. If not, I'll be there in spirit. Text me if you need me.
Yeah, true. That is the only thing. Like, I will be in. Although I don't know. I guess Natty, I was there, and we were still texting nonstop. I was about to say, like, the text flow might be slower because I'm actually at the game, but that's probably not true. knowing the two of us.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, this was fun, and let's. It's time to kick the tires and light the fires and go dogs.
Go dogs.